Chat, welcome. Chat, happy to have all of you here. No intro today, as we're going to be getting a little bit more serious than we usually do on these live streams. We're going to be talking about the new evidence and new testimony in the Titan submersible disaster. I'm not here to poke fun or make light of the situation, but as the evidence and testimony reveals, there is a lot that went wrong here. And as I say in the title, it's even worse than we thought it was. So there is a lot to learn. There's a lot to go through. There's a lot to not do. But chat, we'll be going through all of it today. Happy to see everyone here in the chat, all my newbies, all my old bees, all my professors. Of course, if you want to continue on this conversation after we are live, you can always join the facility at patreon.com/Kyle Hill. And if you really want me to see something, last time we did this, this was over a year ago now, this was our most tuned into live stream that we've ever done. So there might be a lot of you in here, so you can always try super chat. I will try to get to the top chatters. But like I said, we are going for a deep dive today. It's also not lost on me that I look like Aquaman right now. I get that. I get that that's kind of ironic. Wonder Platypus, thank you for the 5. Haven't caught office hours in ages. Glad to be back. Glad to have you. But yeah, chat, we're going to be getting into as much as we can, so I hope you're ready to learn along with me. I have a number of notes and things that I would like to go to. The Aquaman fit go crazy. But chat, as we're talking about a very timely topic, a lot of you may not be familiar with me or what we do here at the facility. Hello, my name is Kyle. I can do the Picard maneuver. I have a degree in civil and environmental engineering. I've been professionally science communicating for a long time. And today we'll use our experience here at La Facilidad and my engineering background to go through what happened. Why don't we just get into it? I'm compressed for time. How long is this? That sounds like a skill issue. So chat, happy to have everyone here. Yes, I'm also underwater, and yes, I look like Aquaman. It's not lost on me. But chat, what we're going through today is some of the testimony from the Titan disaster, from OceanGate, to see what went wrong, what we can learn from it. We'll also be doing some math, looking at composite materials, stress strain curves, all that good stuff. Chat. Wavy hair and everything. I woke up like this. So chat, what I've been looking for news on this, and what I really like is the BBC's live coverage. 1,000 people are watching this live right now, just on this. But I like their live coverage. There's a lot of pages of it. We'll get to it and see what we can learn and what science can reveal for us. Recently, I got into skydiving, and I'm working on my license. Video on the science of skydiving one day, mayhaps, perhaps, says Wonder Platypus with the 10. Thank you. No. Just a second, I'm just banning someone in the chat. Should have Under Pressure playing in the background. Do you want me to get copyright stricken? Chat. The sea, she be a harsh mistress, says Beetlejuice. Okay, chat. The physics involved in this story are truly fascinating. I agree. It popped off at the ring interface. Yeah, the most creepiest photo I've ever seen of a sunken vessel. Yeah, Ted, the footage is truly haunting, and we'll see that in a second. So the first person to be interviewed was Miss Rojas here. She was the mission specialist. And so as we go through this, we will see patterns of behavior and activity at OceanGate that all point towards some kind of disaster probably happening. So were they crushed or liquefied? Yes. We'll get to that. Good afternoon. So she was the first. So we're going to see a pattern of bad behavior and bad decisions. I think it starts with Miss Rojas here, who saved 30 years to go see the Titanic. She did get to see the Titanic in an OceanGate submersible in 2022. It cost her $250,000. Why she was classified as a mission specialist, as some claim in the testimony, was to get around the protections that you would need if you classified her as a passenger. Red flags all around, Jet. We call her a mission specialist, which she says basically is standing around waiting to hand someone a wrench if they need one. But they classified her as that allegedly to get around the safety regulations that you would need if you're just talking about passengers and if you're taking down full passengers and members of the public. Esh Daddy with the $9.99. I have full alopecia. Can you spare any hair? No, I can't spare a square. Multiple people during the hearings, and we'll get to this, pointing out serious flaws in the submarine's design. Poor quality of material, carbon fiber. We will get to why carbon fiber is a bad material for submarines. But it appears as though a combination of carbon fiber failing and seal failure caused the implosion here. Of course, when Mr. Lockridge here, the former director of marine operations, pointed out that carbon fiber was a bad material, he was fired in 2018. He told OSHA about it, but they didn't move fast enough. Ms. Rojas describes herself as a mission specialist. It's a volunteer position, basically really just standing around to see if someone needs a wrench. She was the mission specialist. She was taken to the Titanic in 2022. Of course, on that dive, there were already problems. The pilot could not get the controllers to work properly, etc., etc. Kyle, are you underwater? Is your underwater set up to spec? I don't see a single video game controller. How do you navigate with this? I actually move around with this. It's not even a Logitech. This is a PlayStation controller, so you know I won't be imploding. I was a submarine submariner, says Derry Dobby with the 10. One theoretical effect is the diesel effect, where atomized lube oil and diesel ignited during implosion. So you don't just get crushed, you also get incinerated. Well, this had batteries and not diesel fuel, right? So I don't know if that's the case, but I appreciate your service. Thank you for going down into the depths where I definitely don't want to go. I would like to go on a tested vessel. And that's what we'll get to. We'll hear again and again. So this is the most amazing thing. this footage. It is very haunting. And I just want to point out a couple of things. This is 3,800 meters down, right? So almost 4 kilometers down, miles down. This is the back of the sub, okay? So this is the rear of the sub that you're looking at. So this is the back semi-spherical section. Then you should have the cylindrical section here, and then you have the other cap, the end cap, the semi-spherical end cap. That was moved further away from the wreckage. Now, I want to point out something rather morbid, chat. So this footage was taken over a year ago, and they have since recovered this. But in this footage, what you are seeing, if they weren't ejected instantaneously in the other direction, as it looks like the other cap may have done, which could have been a kind of a conservation of momentum kind of thing happening. If it failed at the front and a 400 atmosphere jet of water came in through a crack, it could hit the back, rebound out the other way, and this would act to kind of force the submersible apart, right? Kind of like... But I want to point something out here. Unless their bodies were ejected, as the front plate may have been, in the other direction by force, they are all right there. Or they were all right there. And if their bodies weren't ejected and weren't cleaned by the various flora and fauna in the ocean, they went from 5 people occupying this amount of space to 5 bodies you're looking at now occupying this amount of space. So this is truly haunting to me. Okay, so here's the front plate, the front semi-spherical section. So it doesn't look, when we talked about this a year ago, we speculated that it may have been the front window that failed because it wasn't rated for the depth that they went at. Mark, thank you for the 2. But that doesn't look like what happened, because if you continue on, you see the rest of the submersible. And point out this angle here. This should be here, all of the tube. This should be a tube. And so it looks like the whole hull, the cylindrical hull, got compressed down backwards towards the back. It is truly it's pretty harrowing, right? As XKCD likes to say, at this point you stop being biology and you start being physics. And what really happened to someone at that depth? All right, chat. What happens to a person at that depth? Imagine the column of water above this depth. That is literally the weight of water above you. Imagine this, and when you do this in engineering, imagine the column of water above you. So when you want to know what the pressure is at a depth like that, what it is a factor called rho multiplied by G multiplied by H. This is hydrostatic pressure. So rho represents the density of the fluid above a certain point. So in our case, that's the density of water, or seawater. Seawater is a little bit more dense, or a little bit less dense. Right. It has a different density. So the density of water is roughly 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter. To know what the weight of that water above you, or that fluid above you, you multiply it by the acceleration due to gravity on Earth, which is about 10 meters per second, which is 9.81. It's more, it's closer to 9.81 meters per second. But you can see here that this, since your weight or the weight of something is a force in newtons, which depends on kilograms, accelerating 1 kilogram through 1 meter, you can see that one of the m's here will cancel out, and we'll get the units that we'll end up getting are newtons per square meter, which is pascals or just a unit of pressure. Now, it turns out that 1 atmosphere is 100,000 pascals. So, chat, I'm asking you to do a quick math problem here. How many meters here? How many meters would it take to get this number to 100,000? If this is already newtons, and pascals are newtons per square meter, this is already newtons per square meter. How far down do you have to go before it's 100,000? Peter is the first in the chat. Exactly. So that's 10 meters. So if we multiply all that together, we get standard pressure. We did our math correctly, chat. All the units worked out. Okay. So what that means is for every 10 meters or about 30 feet you go down in the ocean, as I am now, how am I breathing? Shut up. For every 10 meters you go down in the ocean, you get 1 atmosphere of pressure. So 100,000 pascals, or about 14.7 pounds per square inch. So if this right here, if this is 3,800 meters, I think you can do the math on that, right? 3,800 meters, we just divide it by 10 meter increments, and we have 380 atmospheres. Now, why I'm doing all that math is, as we're looking at this footage and we're seeing the crushed remains of crew, if they are still in there, a lot of you are wondering what actually happened to them. Well, at this pressure, 380 atmospheres, you get 38 megapascals, or thereabouts. Okay? Now, I want to point out 2 things very quickly. What is the tensile strength of human bone? So right away, we are within the ballpark. Remember, we're at 38 megapascals. This is the tensile strength of human bone, 52. So we're already within the ballpark of being able to crush human bone. No, it's not compressive strength, because when bones are bending, it's acting in tension. This is compression, this is tension. Pull this way. Well, one side is in compression, one side's in tension. What we usually list in engineering terms is the ultimate tensile strength. So this is the tensile strength of human bone. I also want to point out that if we are at 38 megapascals, the tensile strength of human skin is 7. So, for all you asking what happened to the people inside of here, we are in the realm of being able to smash, separate, destroy, and otherwise mash up human everything. Okay. So if they didn't get ejected, as it appears there may have been how this failed, it came in a crack in the forward semispherical section, and then the water rushed in and pushed out material, well, at least this cap, and the rest of it crushed. If they are still in there, they are no longer going to be very discernible. So you wouldn't be recovering bodies, you'd be recovering remains. What's quicker, this or being next to a nuclear blast? Seth, Mad Lad, nuclear blast. If you're within the fireball radius, which can be, pretty big, a mile across or more. If you're within the fireball radius of a modern nuclear weapon, you are instantaneously vaporized within milliseconds. This probably is slower than that, but I have no idea. There would be no remains. They'd be crushed into nothing, says Bushman. Well, that's not true. The material still goes somewhere, right? So, chat, we continue. So that's may be what happened to those people. And they might be right there in this footage, which is kind of grisly to think about. Thank you. RS King, we have more Half-Life histories coming in very soon. Don't worry about it. Which is kind of harrowing to think about. 1 cubic meter of gas at 1 atmosphere compressed to 380 atmospheres would be reduced to 0.4 cubic meters at 2,000 degrees. They were probably cooked. Thank you for the 5, Derry. Well, cooked is a term that brings along with it certain implications, right? If there was an implosion and there was a generation of light and heat from that implosion, like you see on the end of mantis shrimp punchy parts, like a cavitation event like that. Cooked is a word that implies some amount of time, you know, so that they wouldn't be like cooked. They'd be subjected to an instantaneous, large amount of heat, but you wouldn't find steaks down there. So yeah, this footage is pretty harrowing. And just in case you're wondering, chat, why is this piece fully intact? Well, that's because this back piece where all the electronics are, that was never pressurized. This is just, this was on the back of the tube. It wasn't pressurized, so it couldn't implode. It could be deformed and crushed by the pressure down there, but it's not going to implode in the same way. So OceanGate charged people $250,000 to do this. Heat from the pressure, but isn't the water cold, says Tony Sink. Well, if you compress gas basically instantaneously with no room for heat to transfer to another system, Tony, then you get a serious increase in heat. You can prove this to yourself, Tony, at home with a little experiment. If you have a bicycle pump, just do the bicycle pump motion a couple of times and then feel the tube, and you'll feel that the tube has increased in temperature. That's because you are kind of doing this implosion experiment that we're talking about. Rapidly and without significant heat transfer, decreasing the volume, thereby increasing the pressure and the temperature. Would there be anything left? Says Eric Leaf with the 5. Depends on if the sea creatures got to it. I don't know. Even bones are eaten down there. I mean, whale carcasses. I mean, everything that you see around me right now, as I exist as Aquaman down here, that's like marine snow. That's just bits and pieces of stuff floating around down there. Even whale bones are poured over by worms and stuff like that down there. So I don't know. And remember, this was a year ago. They recovered this. So there's no one still down there. And maybe that footage will come out, or maybe that testimony will come out in a couple of days. This has already been going on for over a week. And I wanted to jump on it while we see what was really up, but there might be more information coming. So they call so here we go. So this is what we were talking about with Miss Rojas. Some of the experts that the BBC spoke to think that they described the people who paid $250,000 here. They described them as mission specialists. Why? Because some experts believe that describing passengers as part of the crew rather than as paying customers was a way to get around complying with safety and liability issues. Let's move on to the next bit of testimony. Again, being a, there we go. This is what the wreck of the Titanic looks like. This is where the OceanGate submersible did implode near the Titanic. And there are many cases that we're learning about where OceanGate didn't really seem like they were on the up and up. There was one where Renato Rojas was talking about when you were coming out of the sub and the crane is picking you up out of the water and placed down onto the ship. You're supposed to do it gently, but they let it go. And this sheared off some of the bolts on the dome, and the dome came off. Oops. Supposed to be gently placed on the ship, and they didn't do that. Speaking to a culture of unsafety, chat. And we'll still get to the carbon fiber. Yeah, sheared off bolts, that should not happen. And we'll get to the carbon fiber science specifically in a second. On her dive to the Titanic in 2022, when stuff wasn't working, they thought, maybe we can just Control-Alt-Delete it to fix it? Should we Control-Alt-Delete all the electronics? Maybe we should try to remove the control backwards. No, SpongeBob, you should try Wumbo. You have it set to mini. After exploring the Titanic, she described flickering lights as they were coming up. Right as the sub parked at the surface, the last of its battery died. Again and again, I'm going to mention factors of safety, chat. A factor of safety is something in engineering and physics and all science where you don't want the factor of safety to be 1, which is to say you do not want to subject your experiment or building or submarine to the exact limit where you think it is going to fail. That would be a factor of safety of 1. So let's say this sub was rated to go down 1,000 feet, 300 meters. A factor of safety of 1 would be going to 300 meters and seeing what happens. You don't want to do that. You always want a factor of safety of more than 1, 2, 5, 10, which means if you have a factor of safety of 10, where you're going, you can endure 10 times that, and you'll be fine. You want the factor of safety to be much higher than 1, and not to put yourself in crush depth with a factor of safety of 1. This is not what NASA does, for example. And I'm bringing that up purposefully because Miss Rojas has a very interesting comparison. I knew the dive was risky, but I never felt unsafe. I suspect that that's because she didn't know what was happening. That is my speculation. I was mostly just standing around until someone needed help. Then she gets emotional, obviously, as anyone would be. She described, the last memory I have is just 5 people smiling. It's tragic. It's tragic, but it's not unsurprising, is it, chat? Now I'm wondering how many atmospheres the ISS can hold. The International Space Station is pressurized to atmospheric pressure on Earth, which is to say 1 atmosphere. And that's because you want it to feel like Earth as much as you can. That's why you strap people down and have them do exercise to make sure their bones are staying topped up with calcium and stuff. You want the body to feel as though there's gravity and feel as though there's normal atmosphere. The minimum is a safety factor of 5. Well, that's what you would want, something like that. She explains, problems happen. If you had a problem at the surface, you were at the surface. They had 96 hours of life support. Okay. The dome fell off once on a dive. Wouldn't they burn like diesel? Says Patrick with the 2. No idea. And again, just so we're clear on everything, this is the back of the sub. It looks like the carbon fiber hull instantaneously imploded and got crumpled towards the back. If people weren't ejected, you are looking at all of them. Why no spinning ISS yet, says Dr. Sedwall? Well, you can get artificial gravity on a spinning edifice, whatever. You can get spin gravity in space, but you need that thing to be big enough. Why? Well, you do not want the RPMs of a spinning spacecraft to be so high that humans on it get sick. We've learned from testing that's between like 1 and 3 RPM, which is very slow. So to get 9.81 meters per second of angular acceleration to provide you your weight on a spinning space station, I think you need a spinning space station quite wide, like a kilometer wide. And while the International Space Station is big, it's only like it's not even a third of that, is it? It's only about as wide as an American football pitch. I'm mixing nationalities now, which is like 300 feet, about 100 meters. So think of like 10 of those. That's really wide, right? Material strength is also a reason. Yes. Yeah, Martin, we just talked about that. There was a BBC travel show called Take Me to the Titanic that documented a prior dive. Their controller was mapped wrong. Their solution, while it was being filmed, was to hold the controller at 90 degrees, which is kind of like when you're playing Mario Kart and you're trying to go around the corner more so you turn the controller. That doesn't work. Ms. Rojas, did the CEO, Stockton Rush, who died, did he ever explain the experimental nature of the submarine? Yes. Was she aware that the Titan was not classified, meaning rigorously tested by third parties and then listed with the powers that be? Did you know it was not classified? Yes. I knew that the risk was there, but I still decided to go. Oh, there's one quote from her that I need to see. I think it's on the next page. But here is, so we can get to the carbon fiber science here for a second, okay? So you have these are the Titan submersibles, emphasis on the wrong syllable, key weaknesses. You have titanium end rings connected to the pressure hull, which is this. This is the back end that we saw that wasn't compressed. This is the viewport and the forward dome. This was the part that you saw ejected, or not here. This part is this part, okay? What was the problem? Carbon fiber hull, material unpredictable at depth. Why? Chat. Why does everyone keep talking about carbon fiber? Well, carbon fiber is very cool. Carbon fiber is incredibly strong and incredibly light. That is cool. Carbon fiber is cool. Does it get brittle under pressure? Generally speaking, composites using carbon fiber, fiberglass, and Kevlar are all categorized as brittle and fail with little stretch in comparison to more plastic or non-brittle materials. So when we say brittle, chat, what do we actually mean? Time to learn some actual materials engineering with yours truly. So this is a typical stress, see here, stress versus strain graph. This is stress in megapascals. We were just going through megapascals of pressure. So this is the force, basically, on some material. Okay? And this is the strain percentage. Strain is how much a material deforms over its original length. So if you had a tube of steel, strain would be it coming apart or bending or something like that, okay? That's what strain is measuring, a deformation in the body. Okay, so these two, the green and the orange here, this is a kind of typical stress versus strain curve for something like steel. So you see at the beginning, there is this linear region. We usually call this the elastic region. It's the region in which you can stress something and it will go back to its original shape. So you know this, right? Here's a plastic thing. Here's a plastic comb. So this can take a certain amount of stress, and the strain, it will return to its original position, right? I'm not permanently deforming this. But as you can see on these graphs here, steel and other metals, other materials, there's a point at which the strain rapidly increases. This is starting to fail, which means that it is bending. Okay? So this is the failure points of steel right here. So it's taking stress, and then suddenly it takes no stress and it just strains, which means you've probably felt this if you have, here's a good example. If you take like a soda can, right? And you try to take the soda can cap off, you notice it's like, and then it gets really loose and then it just snaps. That is what you are seeing here with, in that case, aluminum, where there's some resistance, but then it just fails and just strains, okay? Now, I say all of that to compare it to the dotted lines that you see here on this screen, okay? These are carbon and other composite materials. This is their stress strain curve. Can you see a difference? There is no area, there's no failure mode that is like steel. It doesn't start taking less stress but bends or changes. What it does is it just snaps. This is what we call brittleness. So it does not take as much energy. It cannot absorb as much energy before it completely fails. Okay? So when we're calculating how tough something is or how strong, it's how much energy can be put into the material before it totally fails. And as you can see, the area under this green curve is actually more than the area underneath this red curve, meaning that steel here can absorb more energy than this carbon example, which means this at some point just snaps. Like that. Now, chat, trust me to have a comb. Yeah. Now, chat, you just learned Materials Science 101, day one, a little bit. Can you think of why it would be good to have a material that can undergo some strain and deform without completely and catastrophically failing? Carbon fiber might be fine in an environment or in a situation where the stresses stay the same. But what happens in an environment that a submarine goes into? You are continuously on multiple dives, stressing, unstressing, stressing, unstressing, with hundreds of atmospheres of pressure. This is called cyclical loading. And brittle stuff is not good for that. Brittle stuff is not good for creep and for fatigue, as we call it, okay? Steel, you can notice if something is deforming with cyclical loading over time. Stress, unstress, stress, unstress. With something brittle like glass or carbon fiber or ice, it just fails. That's probably bad for something that people are inside of. There's no wiggle room here, especially if you don't have any factor of safety, like we talked about. There was a quote I wanted to bring up here. I think it's from Miss Rojas. Right. Here we go. Miss Rojas claims that the Titan was like the Apollo space program. She knew it was experimental. She knew it was untested. But she said that this was similar to the Apollo space program. OceanGate tested by doing. This is not what NASA does. NASA does not put an experimental crew capsule into space to see what happens. This is not like the Apollo space program. Do you know what the factor of safety at NASA is? I know it's not 2. I'm pointing this out specifically because, again, this speaks to a culture of either not knowing what the rules are or not caring. A culture of unsafety. This is demonstrably false. You know? We're just like astronauts. No, you're not. How'd you get so smart, Kyle? I went to a lot of school. And I got a master's degree. And then I have been doing this every day for the last 12 years or so. Shaddy, thank you for the $9.99. We just have to move right along. We've already spent a lot of time here. She says one other thing. There's one other thing that really... She added, without taking the risk and the exploration, the world would still be flat. How'd you get so handsome, Kyle? Genetics. Do you see the culture here, right? Do you see the culture that was instilled by a lack of safety, skirting on materials, all that stuff? They think they're explorers. What my personal opinion is that they were people with too much money and too much ego, and it killed them. And and I was going to say, this is not like exploring the world to see if it's flat or not, is it? The people who sailed around the world sailed on boats with wood that they knew wouldn't instantaneously fail and plunge them down to Davy Jones' locker. The people who explored the world's early oceans, indeed the world itself, were going around on very, very, very proven vessels. The Titan submersible was the exact opposite of that. This is, do you know what this is like? The Titan submersible in this view, making this comparison, it's not like, an explorer trying to find the new world on a boat. This is like sending Christopher Columbus to the new world on a plane that didn't exist yet. I think it will probably work. Go for it. You know what I mean? But I never felt unsafe. I think that's because you didn't know. Nate Tom, thank you for the 5. Oh, I have an Australian donation. Perfect. Given how big a deal getting safely to the Titanic is, why aren't the best engineers working on it? Because they weren't hired or they were fired. Rainbow Dash with an Australian $20. Chat, I may be lending my services to an Australian piece of media soon, so I am actively practicing my accent. Rainbow Dash with the Australian 20. If you want to see some examples of what happens to stress carbon fiber, look at Formula One crashes. The cars are mostly carbon fiber. Good comparison. Thank you, Rainbow Dash, my favorite Australian in the chat. Sean with the 5. With all that money, they could have just, bought a sub. Good point. So I wanted to also point out the differences between this and something like the Deep Sea Challenger that James Cameron uses. Okay. I know, chat. I know that was an amazing Australian accent. We don't have to focus on it, okay? Oops. So, chat, this is the pressure part of the vessel of what James Cameron uses. It is a sphere. A sphere is the strongest object, strongest shape in space, underwater, strongest object. This is what was exposed to that pressure. Not all of this, not a Logitech controller, just Mr. Cameron in his very tested, validated, tiny sphere. See a difference? More to go from the testimony. Flawless accent coming from an Australian, says Kitty's Review. Thank you so much. I'm ready for prime time. I know. So we're still going through hearings that the BBC is doing. Another thing I wanted to point out, I think, what else did I want to get to? Anyway, just to sum up, chat, for this testimony part, culture. Oh, there's more to say. There's more to say, Kyle. Fred Hagen was a paying passenger who made several dives on the Titan sub. He described a number of incidents. These included the front dome of the sub falling off when it was dropped onto the deck. This is when the bolt sheared off the front. The titanium dome just kind of fell off, he said. On another dive, the sub was incorrectly weighted. It was off balance and spiraled thousands of meters to the seafloor. When it got there, the thrusters failed. He also described how the sub briefly became caught in the wreckage of the Titanic. But he didn't seem very worried about it. It was clear that it was dangerous. It's kind of like jumping out of an airplane. I mean, you don't do it because it's safe. You do it because it's an adrenaline rush. Wrong. Chat, I don't know about you, but I think you do it because it's both of those things. You jump out of a plane because you think you're not going to die. It's not just for the adrenaline rush, Mr. Hagen. If jumping off of stuff was just for the adrenaline rush, you'd have a lot more people just jumping off of bridges and buildings. You don't jump out of a plane just for the rush. You do it because you know it is safe. Again, it seems like to me everyone involved with this project is delusional about what was happening here. You know? What about your hair? What about it? I mean, it is an adrenaline rush for me, of course. Do you know it's safe, though? Says Frost. Frost, do I know jumping out of an airplane is safe? I would like to point to two fictional bar graphs in my hand. These are the number of totally safe skydives that have happened. These are the number of the totally safe submersible dives that have happened. Not to say that submersible diving isn't safe, but we have a lot more evidence that diving out of a plane is safe, don't we? So there's good reason to believe that it is safe. This is called comparisons. Come on, Chad. Come on. We're not using experimental parachutes, are we? No. Yeah, okay. So this guy is from a university. He stopped working on it in 2017 because he didn't think the design was good. Thaddeus the Mattius with the $20. If you want a small horror movie, watch how the Titan was built and how unsterile the environment was. When applying the glue to fit the metal ring to the carbon fiber, the engineer put his bare hand on the area to be glued. Yeah, you don't want human oil in places where water at 400 atmospheres can get in. Okay, so the biggest problem, Patrick Leahy points out, co-founder and chief executive of Triton, is that they did not go through licensing. Because Mr. Stockton Rush, the CEO who died, said that certification and licensing slowed down innovation and that his own safety protocols were enough. But no, you want to leave no stone unturned. You want to absolutely go through whatever testing and validation process is necessary to substantiate the machine that you're in and that you're getting people to climb into. Certification matters because it's about building something that's robust, durable, reliable, something that people can dive in with confidence. Any machine that's going to be carrying human beings to the deep sea has to meet a high bar of certification by a third-party group. I do not believe we should be operating experimental vehicles in the deep sea. The Titan submersible was not certified. Chad, this continues to go on for the last 9 days or so. Oh, there we go. I didn't even read this. What was the safety culture at OceanGate? Well, let's talk to Miss Wilby, a roboticist who worked as a contractor there. An OceanGate employee told her she should be concerned about being sued if she made complaints known. Describe the safety culture there, please. I saw what I would classify as safety theater. When she asks basic questions, don't worry about it. It'll be fun. You'll have fun. So chat, as things come out more and more, we learn that this tragedy here was obviously caused by a lack of certification, licensing, a lack of a safety culture, lack of testing, bad materials, skimping on costs, all this, that, and the other thing. Don't worry about it. It'll be fun. Extreme negligence. Yes, I agree, Caleb. Now I'll pivot from some of the not fun stuff to something that is kind of fun, which is, chat, if you want to do this at home, you can. Okay? All you need is a soda can and some ice water. And what you do is you use some heating element. I use a torch from the Hacksmith. You heat the water inside of a soda can, empty soda can, put a little bit of water in it, heat it up until steam starts coming out. And then what we're going to do is tip the end of that soda can into the water. What this does is the steam evacuates all of the air continues to evacuate the air inside of the soda can. And then once we seal the end, it's immediately at less than atmospheric pressure. So what does just 1 atmosphere do to a soda can? Was it a little much that I labeled it OceanGate on the side? That's 1 atmosphere of pressure. That's just 1. We are talking about 400 times that. And remember, at those pressures, 38, 40, 50 megapascals, neither human skin nor human bone really can endure the pressure. Still in the ocean. Now, I know there's a lot of very smart people in the chat. Some of you have even been on submarines, submariners. Thank you again for your service. What did we leave out? What else would be good for the audience to know here or for me to learn? Yeah, the fact that the Mythbusters did it with an oil train cart really sells the point. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good example, rather. Let me bring that up. Let me bring that up, chat. One second, my dearest chat. My dearest chat. Oh, there's music. Now, chat, imagine this times 400. Whew. Now, chat, I don't want to get too morbid, but what really happens to even a hard body at pressures like that? What happens to, let's say, an exoskeleton at the pressure of the deep ocean? What you're about to see, I'm going to tell you in case you don't want to see, is a crab. You're about to see a crab die. Sorry. Okay. But this crab walks over an undersea pipe. The pipe obviously at a lower pressure inside than the ocean outside, okay? I'm playing it now. You can avert your eyes if you want to. This is what happens to a crab at ocean pressures like that. So, you can let your imagination do the rest there, chat. Yeah. Yeah. What kind of pipe was that for? Moving some kind of fluid around, I don't know. Just like Alien Resurrection? Exactly, yeah. But I will point out, chat, that Alien Resurrection ending would not have worked in that same way. Yeah, oil pipeline or something. Delta P, baby. No, so when you're talking about Delta P, you're talking about the difference in pressure. So the difference in pressure for that crab was absolutely immense. It was whatever the pressure was inside of that tube with flowing liquid. It could have been very low. The differential pressure, the Delta P, is 400 atmospheres or whatever the bottom of the ocean where they was at. Many, many atmospheres. In Alien Resurrection, the difference in pressure between inside the ship and outside of the ship is 1 atmosphere. This is true. If I cut a circular hole, small, say I cut a quarter-sized hole in the International Space Station, I could put my whole hand over that hole, and it would plug it. Would it feel nice? No, probably not. But you'd feel about 15 pounds per square inch on the back of your hand, and that's it. That's it. That's why I really love the decompression scene in the first or second season of The Expanse, because Naomi Nagata just goes over and plugs the hole with a clipboard. That's true. You would not get sucked through a tiny hole in space. There's not enough Delta P. Stockton Rush, we miss you. We miss you. I can't speak about him personally, but it's chat, is there anything we left out? I know there's a lot of engineers and submariners in the chat, possibly. Like setting a hand over a vacuum. Exactly. Like a handheld vacuum. Yeah. Anything that we missed? Chat, I will say that it is Friday, and I've decided that Fridays are our... Well, actually. Never mind. I was going to say so. We will be streaming. Also, we just joined an esports organization. We are also now the world's first pro gaming science boy hair model. And we will be streaming video games this weekend as well. We have another channel, Kyle Hill Gaming, if you want to check that out. Probably Fallout London. But I have other things to do today that I just remembered about. So, TBD. Hike Craze with the 10, reminding me something. The laminated nature of cabin fiber, carbon fiber, with the repeated exposure to fluids and pressure over time can be demonstrated with partial board, laminated board over time. Yeah, so Hike Craze pointing out something important there. Not only is carbon fiber itself brittle, but with repeated loading, if it's laminated like plywood is, layers glued together, that can delaminate over time. So it's not just the material, but also the structure of the material, how it's structured together, can fail. Especially if you're loading it and unloading it, loading and unloading. Did you plug your merch if you have any? You want some merch? Now, those doors can handle more than 400 atmospheres, trust me. Any chance you'd ever do a video on the science of the sodium-cooled fast reactor TerraPower is building in Wyoming, says Josh. Josh, I don't mean to speak out over NDA, but yes. I may, in fact, even be speaking to a one Mr. Bill Gates about it. But we'll see. But yes, Josh, I am in touch with the TerraPower people. The cool thing about being one of the only nuclear boys on YouTube here, apparently, as we now are, is that I'm in touch with basically everybody, and it's awesome. I have a video from the Idaho National Laboratory coming soon. I'm going to be visiting Oak Ridge National Laboratory. I'm now working with the Department of Energy. I'm speaking at a conference in December in Washington, D.C. about nuclear communications. Oh, we're a nuclear boy now. Silly question, but has Kyle ever hung out with Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson? I have met them both a number of times, yes. Fermi Power Station for Half-Life History. Our next Half-Life History, I think, is going to be about the initial discovery of radiation and the first commercial radioactive products. So not much going on. Andre, I'm barely keeping my head above water, to be honest. Yeah. Videos about nuclear waste, talking to the Department of Defense, maybe talking to Bill Gates about some stuff, flying around, doing stuff. Anyway. Your services dispelling myths about nuclear power are very appreciated. Can do is a good one. Yeah, but chat, we have a lot of cool stuff coming up here at the facility. If you want to join us each and every day, of course, that's patreon.com/Kyle Hill. We have a wonderful patrons-only Discord with hundreds of people. Some of them work on nuclear submarines. That's true. A lot of nerdy people. I hear it's one of the nicest, nerdiest, most educational Discords anyone's ever been on. Have I met Tom Scott? Yes, I met him in June. I'd love to help with the dogs of Chernobyl. Caleb, we also, I'm happy to announce that I just donated a decent amount of cash to sponsor you, me, and the facility, to sponsor the last kennel for the wild dogs near the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. So there will be a large kennel with Kyle Hill, the facility, on a plaque on it, where good little doggos will spend a harsh Ukrainian winter snuggling up. So happy to report that we're continually supporting the good puppers out there. And you helped me do that, so your name will also be on that with me. Kyle, what is the meaning of life? To live it, my man. The point is that there's no point. Make your own point. The point is that there isn't a point. Make your own point. So what I'm trying to do is give myself my own purpose and then meet that wonderful purpose. Won't they stay warm with decay heating? Mark Burkhart. But seriously, the dogs are slightly radioactive. But not enough to be hot, unfortunately. Now, chat, like a lot of people are surprised. A lot of people are surprised that Chernobyl is now thriving. Whether that's truly thriving, we don't have to get into it. There's too many studies, but the environment seems to have, quote unquote, bounced back, and people are surprised by that. You shouldn't be, because human encroachment into an environment is more of a stressor than low-level ionizing radiation. What is more, the dogs are not dying or not being stressed by radiation. They're being stressed by harsh winters, lack of food, bears. That's the problem. The radiation is nowhere near the inbreeding, lack of vaccinations. That is the problem. Radiation they can handle. And they are so cute. It's like nobody, another squid with the Canadian 5. It's like nobody at OceanGate had ever seen the abyss. It's right there. Yes, I have seen the T. Folse nuclear channel. He does a lot of reactions to my videos. Anyway, do we know the condition of Chernobyl at the moment? It was occupied at the beginning of the Russian invasion into the sovereign nation of Ukraine. And there were about 300 people taken hostage there, and they have since been released. They were released a long time ago. To support them in their ongoing mission, I also have 2 patches that were made by the survivors of the Chernobyl hostage crisis that they wear to show that they survived that ordeal. And I knew, or I had met some of them that were taken hostage, and they had since been released, but I support them monetarily as well. We try to do what we can here, chat. Try to be a good nuclear boy, you know? Is the cloudy mist and the debris near the wreckage of the Titan sub the bodies? No. They found the wreckage long after the fact of the implosion, so if the bodies were... if they ceased being biology, any of that would have settled and or been picked over by critters down there. But yeah, we've raised almost $100,000 for the dogs at Chernobyl as well. Do I have a Dogs of Chernobyl tattoo underneath this arm sleeve right here? Maybe I do. You don't know. But chat, I thought I was going to go straight into a gaming stream. As you can see, we're now partnered with Basilisk, but I'm not sure if we're going to. Because I have some other stuff to do today that I forgot about. So if you have any more questions, comments, anything we forgot, hit me. We're still here. We're still here, baby. Have you met Albert Einstein? Enjoy your headphones. No, I haven't met Einstein. Nobody's met Einstein. That is my age. Have you thought about doing this professionally? Says Milos. No. Bye, Kyle. Says David. All right, fine. Get out of here. What's your favorite game on Switch? Let's keep it to science right now. We have a whole other gaming channel. I missed what happened earlier. Did the people on the sub knew it was going to happen? They sent one mission. They sent one message before they lost complete contact, and I think the message was something on the order of everything's fine. But the thing about the brittleness of the material that they use and the immense pressures it was under means that everything would be over in... Oh, dropping 2 weights, right. Thank you, Caleb. They were dropping weights. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. We correct ourselves here, chat. They were dropping 2 weights. Coming back up. Why were you crying in Deadpool 3? I'm a nice guy. All right? I'm just a nice guy. Everything that happened to the submersible and the people inside of the submersible happened within a fraction of a second. How fast was the implosion? Fraction of a second. I showed you some examples earlier, but we're talking about... He met Adam Savage. He even made some videos, says Remco. Yes, I'm good friends with Adam Savage. We text each other at night. If you told 14-year-old me that I'd be texting with Adam Savage in the middle of the night, where he's like, hey, check out my new costume. Isn't it cool? 14-year-old me would have freaked the hell out. But yeah, now we're buddies. He's actually building, Adam wants to build something that's kind of in my realm of expertise. So I think I'll fly up, down, or sideways there to that undisclosed location and maybe help him out with that build. And it has to do with nuclear stuff, if you want to try to guess. Have you heard about the Byford Dolphin incident? No, I haven't. What was I going to say? I don't know. Oh, yeah. Another Half-Life history. After the discovery of radioactivity and the first commercial products, one that I want to get to. Train well, chat. It's a fitness app. Right. I just started writing about another radiological incident in Ukraine. We must get rid of nuclear weapons, says Wanker Tanker with the 2. I agree. Nuclear weapons are absolutely insane, and not insane in a cool way. At any one moment, we're about 42 minutes from ending civilization. And I think that's probably not good. Ukraine shelling the nuclear power plant again? Ukraine isn't shelling the nuclear power plant. They had their nuclear power plant shelled in Zaporizhia, which is a war crime, by the way. If light from the beginning of the universe is now reaching us, does this mean that early on the universe expanded faster than the speed of light? Says SVS Guru with the 5. I'll put it to you this way. Could you do a Half-Life history on Christian? Yeah, that's on the list. I'll put it to you this way. The universe... Nothing can travel faster than the speed of light inside the universe. But what if the universe is expanding into nothing? Then what rules would it be breaking? Bran, I've been trying to get my kids into science for months. Any tips? Focus on what your kids are really excited about and encourage that curiosity to the best of your ability. That's my personal opinion. That's what worked for me. So if your kids are really into dinosaurs like I was, or bugs, like my parents took me to museums to check out the dinosaur bones and got dinosaur CD-ROMs to check out more dinosaurs. Or if you really like bugs, my mom got me kind of like a bug catcher sort of thing that I could put caterpillars in and then hatch butterflies. Encourage their curiosity. Give them extra credit, so to speak. If they're already excited about something, give them, show them, demonstrate to them something about which they're already interested in. And they'll love you for it. When can we expect the INL video? It is currently in the hopper to be edited. Do you watch Sabine Hoffenstetter? No, I don't. I don't really watch many of my my peers, because I want to have my own ideas and not have those ideas like osmosis into my ideas, you know. Cheetah Duck says, Stockton Rush was a stubborn fool. The Titanic has been explored countless times. He still had the blueprint. He had a blueprint they could have followed, done it safe, done it right, and he still built the sub that he built. Thoughts on the Chinese artificial sun fusion project? Well, that's just fusion. You call it an artificial sun because the sun does fusion. But it seems like China is advancing pretty rapidly on it. And we have an episode coming out about China's meltdown-proof nuclear reactor, which I filmed a little while ago, which is pretty cool. Any tips for maintaining a neatly trimmed beard? No. Look at me. I look like if Jack Black and Jason Momoa accidentally stepped into the same chamber as the Fly and then got turned into like the Brundle Fly version of them. Okay, the Buy for Dolphin incident. Jeez, got it. You ever play Portal 2, Kyle? Yes, one of the best games ever made. Love the stream. Keep up the great work, says VR Daddy. Codename, first time I catch a Kyle live stream. Hello, Kyle. Hope you are well. I got a lot of stuff to do, but I'm all right. What's the latest scientific discovery that is coolest to you? Honestly, seeing this footage today was pretty incredible. I didn't expect to have video footage of the implosion, or the aftermath of the implosion, rather. Esteban Benitez with the 199. How much for you to cut your hair? A lot more than 199. It's part of my brand. I can't. The only other Kyle I respect. Who's the first one? I love you, Kyle. Have a funky day. It says Funkdamental. Funked. I know I'm late to the Krongbin train, but I've been listening to a lot of Krongbin, and I just learned 2 songs, which has gotten me playing guitar again, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm actually pretty good at guitar. I don't know if you guys know that. Any encouraging words for a starting physics major? I'm anxious about the math. I was only average in school, says Callie the Raven. Callie, school is hard. Physics is hard. There's no getting around that. Know thyself and engineer your situation to be the best for yourself. So I knew in school, I get super easily distracted. If I'm sitting behind people, I look at their heads and I'm like, what if I punched that person in the head as hard as I could? I have thoughts like that. So I sat at the front of every single class for every single class in college that I took for 6 years. Front of every class, front row. No distractions. I also took the earliest classes I could get. Wake up, brain ready. Don't go late into the day. I know it sounds cool to take a class at 4 p.m., but you're going to be tired and hungry. Just get it done. Sit at the front of the class. Those are 2 things that work for me. Start a science music channel? I might record my own music for these streams. That's what I was thinking about. What happened to the glass nuclear simulation reactor in Germany, says A. Husker. We're actually pretty close to getting it saved. I won't say anything until it's fully confirmed, but basically we just need a signature, and it will be confirmed to be going to a museum or a university. I'll let you know when that happens. Ben Green, more of an Aussie accent? Okay. What do we want to talk about? See, chat, the thing was, I had this very interesting mental shift that happened. I'd been practicing this accent, not like religiously, but like on and off for like 2 years. And I've always loved the Australian accent. I just like it. And I worked with a lot of Australians. Most of the Mythbusters crew was Australian, actually. So I met a lot of Australians. But I had this click in my head where I noticed that as I was trying to say words in my head, I would slip up in the same places that my mouth would slip up. And so I realized that it's actually all in your head and not how you're saying it, you know? And so I actually had a mental shift where I was like, I don't know if I need much more practice, honestly. I had a moment where my head was like, I get it, which is interesting, you know? I just want some gasoline, says Chronic Snake 82. And I know I'm doing it a little bit stereotypical, but I mean, I find that I'm doing it pretty okay. I might be doing some Australian voiceover work, actually. Kyle, are you into quantum physics or astrophysics? Any plans on videos on those? Not really. I'm not an expert in those. Oh, no? Yeah, if you can say no in an Australian accent, you're pretty much good to go, mate. The slight R at the end of an I is what does it for me. G'day. Chat. Chat. Do you work for the MIB? The stream is freaking awesome. Why do you like it? It's mostly the accent? Oh, hell no. Jazza, an actual Australian. Hello. Welcome. G'day. Isn't 38 megapascals the static pressure at 3,800 meters? Doesn't the water's momentum increase the pressure during the explosion? Yes. You sound like my friend from Brisbane, says Anshul in the chat. Well, yeah, because I'm from Brisbane, eh? Alicia Herbie Derby, you changed your name. Thank you for the 5. I'm excited about the new opportunities you've created to educate the public regarding nuclear power. I'm parasocially proud of you. Well, I always appreciate you being here, Alicia, and for being here for so long. Okay, now people just want accents now. Chat, we went over a lot. We learned a lot today. I had a lot of insanely smart people in the chat. Thank you to everyone who donated, joined, told me they were a submariner and how stupid OceanGate was. Chat, the good thing about these live streams, as opposed to being on Twitch, is that you can just rewind, and the whole thing will be live in just a few minutes for you to peruse. Chat, we learned a lot today, so go back and check out all the things that you missed. There's merch at shop.kylehill.net. You can join us on our private Discord, get private live streams like this one, except it's just you and me, at patreon.com/KyleHill. We also just joined a gaming esports organization where we're actually a pro gamer. So if you want to see the next pro gaming streams with me, we will be playing your favorite games and specifically trying to science them as much as possible. If you want to check that out, the channel's name is Kyle Hill Gaming. Find it from the homepage of this channel. Chat, it's been wonderful talking to everybody. Happy to have you here. Happy to see all of the old bees like Cheryl P in the chat. All the old bees, all the newbies like Siggy Swole. Woo! I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope, however much longer you're conscious, it's a good state to be. I'm rambling. Chat, I will see you very soon, no matter where that is. Next live stream, next gaming stream, next main channel video, next kind of dour Half-Life history. It's all coming up in the pipeline. And don't walk on that pipeline if you're a crab. Chat, above all, please, until I see you next time, be nice to each other. Because this is all we got. Take care.